bring Faf du Plessis in, mate. Yeah, Faf du Plessis just got 100. Pretty good form, Bernie.
Okay, everyone, another special episode of the Pavilion, the Peel Cricket Show, which, as always, is proudly supported by RETRAVISION, ESA Sport and EVERLAST Sports Drinks. Now, special show, we've got a third appearance. That's how much this guy really loves the show, and he loves it so much that he was actually texting and messaging from all the way over from the West Indies. So you can probably guess who it is. It's Australian international now, can have that against his title, and that's Teague Wyllie. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks, Horatio. It's good to be back again for the third time.
Yep. So I'll have to give you like a lucky star or something like that, maybe even a special T-shirt or something. I'll think of something, okay, and then that means you'll have to get a photo in it or something like that. Now, you've obviously got plenty of time on your hands right now because in this fantastic world that we're living in right this minute, you're in quarantine, isolation, whatever you want to call it, fresh off the plane, having to do seven days, you were saying? Not the
7 days.
7 days, but you've got to take tests.
Hotel, so I reckon I'll survive.
Okay, so let's get straight into it. ICC Under-19 World Cup, and you played for Australia, opened the batting, you're on TV. At least 2 or 3 games we got to watch. Mate, the whole of Peel was transfixed on TVs. You've gone viral that many times. I can tell you through my my professional life, put a little post on about your exploits and sort of said, hey, you've gone through some of the government programs and been supported through all that sort of stuff, and that is. It's got a record for like one of the highest hit rates of all time. So it's just gone absolute gangbusters. So you're gone famous, mate. So for those that have been, I don't know where you've been, 6 games in the World Cup, open the batting every single time. So facing the new rock against the best bowlers in his age group in the whole wide world. 278 runs at 69.5, if you don't mind, Teague. Including a ton against Scotland, a very important one because that was a must-win game after the little blip the game before. 71 against Pakistan, who had a hell of a team and just decided to set the scene for the whole tournament. First game on TV worldwide against the West Indies. 86 in the first game of the tournament. And he plays for Rockingham Mandurah. I don't know if you ever heard of that some of the footage, mate, some of the commentators, but you were from Mandurah.
I did hear that.
It was hilarious. Yeah, that made a lot of noise as well. But how was it? Seriously.
Oh, mate, it was an unbelievable experience that, I'll just remember for the rest of my life. Being on television, I was saying to my family when I got back to the hotel, it's actually quite a surreal feeling being out there batting or fielding, knowing that there's a camera beamed right at your face. So it's quite a surreal feeling, but mate, it was unbelievable. And even though we were in the bubble for 2 months and all the stuff that went on with all COVID, I wouldn't change it for the world. It was unbelievable.
So you got to play, like I said, you're playing against the best players in the world. You're playing against players that have got first-class experience. You had the left arm wristy from Afghanistan who played Big Bash at the moment, or played last year. I think he played Big Bash for the Renegades. You've got playing against India, who were obviously the eventual winners. You can imagine how hard it is to get into their team. Like, I mean, seriously, they've got, over 1 billion people, and to pick, 15 players in a squad or something like that. Some of those guys are playing first-class cricket and doing well in first-class cricket, IPL, all that sort of stuff. That must have been amazing to play in that environment.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like, you look at India's team, as you said, they've got over a billion people to almost choose from. So for them to be recognised in the top 20 is just an amazing feat. And India's third 11 could probably beat most teams. So, you know, it's unbelievable for them to be recognised as the best 11. And I can quite easily say they were the best team over there by a country mile. I reckon we could have beaten England if we had played them. But you look at India; they're the best team by a country mile in that World Cup.
Yeah, so I guess it would have been nice to have been able to play everybody, but look, that's just the way it sort of works, and you can't do that. But you guys were in a bubble, and you would have been there with the other team. Did you get to like fraternise with them at all, or not, or did you all have to stay separate?
The first two islands we were at was literally barely any mingling. Like, when we were in Guyana, that was when a lot of the COVID stuff went down, and they pretty much said, go get your dinner, sit away from everyone, don't speak to anyone because, you know, the COVID's there, go back up to your room and eat it. So we couldn't really, and then we went to another island, St. Kitts, and there was pretty much the same, get your food, go back to your room, avoid any COVID. But then the last hotel in Antigua was awesome. That ICC hired out the whole resort. So everyone was basically in a COVID-free bubble. So you could go and speak. Guys, we played a lot of tennis with the South Africans and a few of the Sri Lankans there, which was awesome. And just being able to like actually do stuff. You had a bit of freedom compared to the other hotels because you could go and canoe in the little lake they had there. You could go play table tennis, pool. So having that freedom was just, it's something that you take for granted when you're in Australia. Just going able to go out for a walk and have dinner and actually sit down. It's like, we didn't have that for the first month there. So just being able to go and have dinner with your mates and speak to some other blokes was awesome.
Mm-hmm. So just like I told you offline, I guess, I found out that a stat that Mitch Marsh, so we all know who Mitch Marsh is, he's having an outstanding year of cricket at the moment. He's been here, there and everywhere, as you do as an international and a state cricketer. He spent up to now, from start of last year up to now, over 100 days in hotel quarantine doing what he's had to do, you know, go back and forth and all that sort of stuff, World Cups, playing for Australia in Bangladesh and the West Indies and all that sort of stuff. And you did it for that tiny little pocket. Can you sort of appreciate how tough that must be for those guys?
Oh, mate, I've got the utmost respect for Mitch Marsh and everyone who's been in a bubble for that period of time. Like, I've spent 7 weeks in a little bubble and I'm 3 days into quarantine now, and I'm absolutely shattered and just want to be able to go drive to the shops or drive to the nets and, you know, do something. I actually took for granted to do driving. I understand, like, you know, some people go like, oh, he's got bubble fatigue, that's his job, like he should be, you know, accustomed to doing it. But once you've actually been in that situation, you have got so much respect for those guys. It's so tough to be sitting in a hotel room 95% of the time you're in your own room, and you can just looking at the same four walls all day, you go crazy.
Yeah.
So I've just so much respect for them.
Mm-hmm. And having to like treat people like you got to keep them at arm's distance all the time and all that sort of stuff. And it's sort of it's not your nature, is it? You know, where we like to talk, we like to get with people, not say, whoa, you know, you've got to be suspicious of everyone, which you don't want to do that.
Every time I left my room, I had to have a double mask on.
Yeah,
if you're on the team bus, windows down, you have to have be a seat apart.
Yeah.
And with the windows down. And it's just like, sometimes you want to talk to your mates because you feel like you're going insane just being by yourself. But I guess that's what sometimes when you represent your country, like, it's just what you got to take.
You got to do what you got to do. So, mate, like, you know, your season so far has been amazing. I mean, if we go back to what the season looks like, so 730, this is the My Cricket score, 713 runs you've had in 14 games. A couple of days you've had a couple of extra hits, but averaging 54 for the season. High score, as we've mentioned in a previous show, 153 not out versus Tassie in a second 11 game. You know, and then adding the 278, you know, rough maths, you're nearly hitting the 1,000 run mark for the season in 20 matches. You know, that's pretty good going, mate. So for You know, and that basically means your average is in that high. Well, it would be. It must be 50 something. I can't do my maths off the top of my head, but you know, for what you've done, you've come through as a young cricketer and all that sort of stuff, and you've done a hell of a lot of work to sort of be here. And then this is still we're only making training steps still at the moment, but did you feel, so you're playing against some of the some serious bowlers playing in the second 11 cricket. You're playing against, well, I mean, Pakistan, watching them, I mean, they had some serious bowlers. Well, they all did. Every team had serious bowlers. What was that like? Like, did you think the under-19s was tougher or the second 11 was tougher, or it's about?
Oh, they're pretty similar, I'd say. When we played Tasmania, they had three guys who were bowled in Shield cricket: Brad Hope, Gabe Bell and Jared Freeman, who were their main quicks and spinner for the Shield team. So that was a good experience being able to face those guys who have played state cricket. But then you go to, facing I reckon Pakistan had a better pace attack than India. That was a really good challenge on a wicket that was doing quite a bit. Mm-hmm. India had this really good left arm seamer, Ravi Kumar. He had such an ability to go away from the right-hander, but then just have this massive inducker, and he blew a lot of pads off, and I was a culprit of that as well. But just being able to face guys with that caliber, it's an awesome experience. Like, a lot of those guys are full-grown men. They're 19-year-olds, and I'm just a 7-year badger trying to make my way in the world. But, yeah, it's amazing.
I did note watching some of the games. So my wife was watching a lot of the games closely because obviously she's been one of your previous teachers in a past life and all that sort of stuff. And you're part of a cavalcade of young cricketers that she's had a little bit of an influence. Well, not him, but anyway, she's been part of your life somewhere along the line because even in England, because I used to work in cricket there as well, and she taught some. So there's international cricketers that she's taught as well. And anyway, so there's just this growing list. So you're on that list, mate. So anyway, where was I going with this? Yeah. So we're watching some of these games, and you're going, mate, if you're 19, I'll go he. Like, some of these guys had better beards than me, and I'm thinking, okay, whatever. I don't know if that's what you guys are thinking against some of these guys. I don't know if you're going, shit, man, like, he's 24. Like, I don't know
about that, but I can say a story where we were talking to a couple of the Pakistan lads, and they out and out said that they're 21.
Yeah.
That's probably around that topic, but they openly said that they were 21.
Yeah. And look, to put a context around it, some of the South Asian nations, they don't necessarily record birth dates, and it's not a thing. So it's not their fault. So it's a lot of them
born on the 1st of Jan.
Yeah. Well, it's like the horse's birthday is
a couple of the Afghan guys about it, and they pretty much said, like, a lot of these guys at the age of 18 and 19 simply aren't good enough to play at that level. Yeah. But they get to 22, they fake their age, they say they're 17 or 18, and they get an opportunity like that. If they have a good tournament, they get picked up by a team. Like, that's their livelihood right there. So you got to have sympathy for them, because for some of them, if they don't say that, they're not going to have any money to go back to the slums in Afghanistan. And there come out news yesterday that 4 of them are seeking asylum in London. They hopped on the plane to go back to Afghanistan, and they said, "No, we're not going back there." Yeah. And now they're refuge just because it's that bad. One of the guys who I was playing with, Jack Sinfield, he was in the Brisbane Heat bubble last year, and he was saying that Mujib Rahman, he basically bought a house in Afghanistan, and his whole family lives in there. And there was a story about Harbhajan Singh that he supplies for his whole street where he lives, because it's just, where they come from. It's just a different world back there.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of cricket. That's one of the best parts about this game, is that it's a worldwide game. It's, top 2 or 3 participated games in the whole wide world. I know people might think that's weird, but you've got the subcontinent. You've got India, over 1 billion people. Bangladesh, it's got you know, millions and millions, and you got Pakistan that's got millions and millions, and it's played, yeah, it's played all over the world, but you get to, I guess, appreciate a lot more, you know, like, I mean, yep, okay, bubbles, that's tough. I'm not for 1 minute saying it's not tough, but you know where your next meal's coming from. You know that you're pretty safe where you are. You know, you've had the opportunity to play cricket on good facilities, good systems, all that sort of stuff. Those boys, we don't even know what the poor blokes have had to do to get to where that, like, yeah, I mean, you would have probably spoken a little bit to them, and to hear that 4 of them are trying to make a better life for themselves. I mean, you know, good luck. I hope it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I was just going to touch on that with when you play these subcontinent teams, like we noticed it against Sri Lanka a lot, and then you played Afghanistan and Pakistan and all those nations, like how much passion they have when they're playing.
Yeah. And
when they get a wicket, they're going crazy, not just because they got a wicket, but because, like, you know, this is their livelihood at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They don't want to go back to their country and live on the streets. Like, a lot of them have had to do it tough. So they've just got so much passion and love the game, because at the end of the day, that's got them a ticket over to the Caribbean for 6 weeks. And that is a life-changing experience for those guys. And I guess for 4 of the Afghanistani guys, they don't want to go back, and after being in the West Indies for 6 weeks in a nice hotel in a bubble, they don't want to go back into the streets.
Yeah. Well,
got so much.
The war zone. So it's tough.
A lot of us play cricket and, you know, have a good time with our mates and, you know, go have a drink after the game. But for them, they don't care about that. They just want to, you know, make a good life for their family and get a bit of money and going for it. But it's so tough. And I've got so much respect for that.
And I love the fact that I can have a chat with you, Teague, and I've known you for a, you know, fair while, and to hear you talk this way is awesome, because that's, mate, that's more important than cricket. What you've just experienced and learnt there.
Yeah.
Cricket's just a game. Like, that's awesome. So well done for you reaching out and hearing their stories, because it's important, I think, which is fantastic. And thanks for sharing. Another thing I noticed, and you probably noticed as well, like, I mean, even gear, like, you know, you guys are all lucky. You've got, you know, probably a couple of sets of pads and a few bats and gloves and all that. I think Afghanistan, they were passing a bat around. Like, guys were coming on and off the ground, and they were sharing, here, you take the bat, or even gloves. And I'm going, man, like, wow.
One or two situations where they did that, but for the most part, you know, they're pretty fortunate.
No, I know, but you don't see that, not at that level.
No, you see that in PLF grade.
Now, facilities. There are a couple of photos you put up on your Instagram stuff where you were training at, and it looked like a goat farm, one of the grounds you were training at. What were they like?
The first place in Guyana, we actually got a couple of good training decks. You know, we got a centre wicket and then 2 nets, and they were pretty good. But then the second and third place we went to, we weren't allowed to face any fast bowling or sidearms. So I was heading into the first game without facing a quick bowler. It was all spin on a pitch that was ragged and uneven bounce. So it was pretty tough. And that's why I was saying I've got so much respect for these guys in the West Indies and other nations. Like, it's going to be so hard to breed good cricketers when you just haven't got the facilities to back it up.
Yeah.
A couple of the boys felt very underdone, like going into the first game, because we hadn't faced a lot of pace. You felt so bad batting in the nets because literally every ball was spinning past your bat, and you're getting hit in the balls off lengths on spin. So it was pretty tough. But I guess that's all a part of the experience. You know, a lot of these teams probably coming over thought, like, gee, how good are these? Like, you know, we're batting on turf wickets, and they're pretty big. But I guess that's why, you know, we're very fortunate where we are in Australia to have nearly every club team has turf training decks, and you go over here and not even the first class facilities are that great. So, you know, we've got to try and get the most out of it as we could batting on those. But I guess at the end of the day, like, we're just a lot more fortunate than some of the other nations.
Yep, definitely. And if you were having this chat with Tom Scollay, who has obviously had a big role in your development over the last few years, mate, he'd be saying that, you know, that's the way you answered that was, okay, that's what it was, and I got on with it and saw it as a challenge, but it was good, you know. You can use it as an excuse, or you just go, well, this is what it is. I'll make the
Yeah,
money and you get on with it.
I feel like you just can't use it as an excuse. You know, I was ringing him most of the days when I was over there, just saying, like, mate, I feel so underdone. Like, I'm one of those guys heading into a game where I could bat for 3 hours and hit heaps and heaps of balls until I feel grooved. But because we only had our little 2.5 hour training stint, and you had 11 blokes trying to bat on 1 or 2 training decks, and they all suck, and you just feel like, am I ready for this? Like, I don't feel like I've done enough. You know, in the lead up, especially after being in quarantine we pretty much went 10 days without picking up a bat. And then we were meant to play a warm-up game against South Africa. Like, we can't do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a very good tour for the mindset.
Yeah.
Like, I reckon most of those guys who struggled were just so like, oh, I'm underdone, or, you know, I'm struggling. But you just got to be in this mindset where, like, I've done so much work in the past 10 years to get where I am today. Like, I'm good enough, done enough work, but just being able to go out there and tell yourself that, it's actually really tough.
Oh, mate, it's the toughest thing ever. You've got to trust. You've got to tell that little bloke to piss off, that little doubt, that guy that's got doubt. Just, mate, get off, get lost. I don't need you there. Yeah, you got to trust.
10 teams had the same preparation pretty much.
Exactly. So with that, mate, so we've spoken facilities. Now, maybe this is the most obvious answer, but the toughest team, India, or did they all have their chance?
The toughest team was probably India. I reckon Pakistan had a better bowling attack than India, but just their batting. Like, Yash, we played a warm-up game against India, and there was a short ball that just skidded on, and Yashtul, who got 100 against us in the semi, cut down on it and bounced over point and went for 4. And we're just like, that is the most ridiculous shot we've ever seen. And your margin for error bowling to these guys is like a 20-cent piece. Like, you just can't miss, or they're going to dispatch you, not just for 4, for 6.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievable. Like, I was mainly fielding at point for most of it. And just these guys' ability to drop it in front, get a 1, bang it down the ground, get 1. And then if you miss by the slightest bit, they're slapping you back with point for 6 or whipping you for 4. It was just unbelievable. And I sometimes, as a fielder, you know, everyone gets a little bit bored sometimes when you're fielding. I just kind of sat back and went, holy crap, these guys are so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you hear their back, I mean, you toured there last year or the year before, whenever it was, India, and you saw that tiny little pocket that you got to see, but that's, a lot of them have, like, he's probably played 10 times the cricket you have at the same age. He's played that many more games. He's faced that many more balls. That's just their system. That's just the way.
About India, it was actually a funny story about that. One of the guys playing for India, I already got out before he bowled, but he was at the same cricket centre that I was at 3 years ago. So I thought that was a touch. And one of the guys at that cricket centre has already made 60 hundreds and he's 15. You look at guys over here, some guys making state squads and they've got 2 or 300s, you know, like, yeah, he's a good player. He got 100, 800 in third grade, like, but they've got 60 under their belt and they play 4 games a week most times. And that's why guys like Yashtul or Sheikh Rashid, guys who are, you know, making a lot of runs for India, they've got so much match experience and they've got so much knowledge around the game because they've played so much. You know, sometimes you watch him bat and you're like, oh, he's 15 off 40, you know, I don't know really what he's doing, but then he just goes whack, 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 and all of a sudden he's 60 off 70. They've just got so much knowledge and you can see they're ticking over so much when they're batting or when they're bowling. It's unbelievable.
And it's great that you get that opportunity to see that close, you know what I mean? Like, you can see it on TV, but you were there. You were like 5 metres away from the guy as he's, you know, smacking the ball all around. So with that, you got to face a lot of the best bowlers early in particular. Who was, you know, who top 2 or 3 bowlers that you reckon you faced?
The biggest standout was probably Ravi Kumar, who played for India. His ability just to go away from the righty and then bowl a big inducker and blow people's pads off was just unbelievable. And I think he might have got 3 or 4 for in the final and a couple in the semi, just by his sheer ability to swing the ball. He wasn't quick, but, you know, just how his wrist was so amazing and he held the seamer another guy, I faced Noor Ahmed in our playoff, the third and fourth. And I only faced a few balls of him, but that just gave me a bit of perspective on like facing guys like him in T20 cricket and Rashid Khan. Rashid bowls 10 Ks quicker than Noor. Yeah. And I thought Noor absolute gas. And his wrist was so hard to pick. I think I faced 3 balls and 2 were wrong ones and 1 was a leggy. But that's the first time in a long time I've actually had to watch the wrist so closely. It almost felt like you weren't watching the ball because you were just trying to pick. One of the guys who batted for us, he didn't score a run, but he faced 6 balls, played and missed it 4, left 1, and then got bowled because he just couldn't pick it.
Yeah, and you've got to face that. Like, I mean, I know that you're doing that on TV at a World Cup and all that sort of stuff, and you might walk off going, "Oh my God, you know, geez, I must have looked like an idiot." But if you're going to progress, you're going to come up against these guys more and more often, especially in T20 cricket. I mean, it's the ticket, isn't it? And that's why these Afghanis they're all working out weird ways to do it because they know it's a commodity, you know. Like, I mean, and Rashid Khan. I mean, if you're going to be a cricket fan, I know I am. I'll pay good money to watch him. Like, he's one of my favourite cricketers. Full stop.
Yeah, man. That's the thing. Like,
amazing.
In red ball cricket, you can probably get away with it. You know, you can just wait on the bad ball. They're not going to spin it a lot. But when it comes to white ball, mate, like you've got to be the one to make the move as a batter if you face 5 or 6 dots. And our coaches pretty much said, because they had another good leggy, Azra Falk, I think, right arm, had Noor Ahmed a left arm leggy. They said if you can face their 20 overs and get 1 or 2 for 50, that means you can go and hit the other guys. In the 50 overs we played against Afghanistan, they bowled 4 overs of pace. Yeah. They didn't bowl spin from one.
Spinner in, didn't they?
Yeah. So their 2 opening bowlers, they didn't play the last game, and then they picked a left arm quick who opened bowled. That was the end of him then.
And he was pretty good too. I thought he was sharp.
Yeah, he was decent.
Yeah.
Didn't a lot, but he just kind of angled across you.
What about the bat? I mean, you obviously mentioned the Indian lads. Was there anyone? I mean, I saw the well. Let me just share this with everyone, and you'll be able to see this as well. Just move this over a little bit. So first of all, if people don't know, can you see that, the photo?
Not yet.
Now?
No.
No. Okay, let's try again. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
There we go. You can see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so on the back of Teague's performances at the World Cup, again, if you don't know, or you didn't know, you just, I don't know where you've been living. He made the team of the tournament, which is amazing. Now, that guy that got picked to open the batting with you, I thought he could play a bit.
Yeah. He was a very fearless type of batter, I'd say. He walked out against us and walked out our opening quick and drove him over mid.
So you want to be 21-year-old?
Oh, no, probably not how to say. But he just played an amazing few shots.
Serious player.
Got out playing a bit of cowboy cricket. And then the guy batted 3, DeWald Brevis, mate. Like, I had a few very good chats to him at the last hotel, and he's a very down-to-earth, lovely guy. And, you know, we spoke about his relationship with AB. As some of you might know, his nickname's Baby AB. Yeah. He plays golf with AB. He plays, has hits with him, and you know, it's a very special relationship. That's the way he calls it. And he's a serious white ball cricketer. Sums up the situation and weighs up his options. It's something to behold when you watch it. I obviously haven't seen a lot of these.
500 runs, I think.
Broke the record. 508 runs, 6 hits.
Yeah, that's stupid. You know, Noor Ahmed, you were just saying he was 12th man. and I guess there's a bit of performance and stuff like that. Some of the English lads did quite well. I mean, he was impressive. He was pretty good. And they had another guy. It's more of a hitter, but he looked like he played front row rugby. Like, he was huge. I don't know if...
Opened the batting. He whacked a few.
Yeah.
Serious player, but the only thing you could probably pick apart from him was he didn't probably make a big score against a decent nation. I think he got 150 not out against the UAE, and then maybe a few runs against Canada. Mm-hmm. But you can tell by like the way he played, he was obviously a serious player. Yeah. But that's probably the only thing you could probably pick apart, I reckon, from him.
Yeah, all those players, every single player there, mate, including yourself. It's an awesome thing to get that recognition. You know, it's fantastic. Now that I know it's not the best quality. Did you guys do that like the first day you got there or something, or what?
No, we got there and then we had to quarantine for 5 or 6 days. It was only meant to be 3 days, but 2 of the blokes decided to get COVID. But yeah, then we had to go to another hotel and get our photo shoot done.
So that would have been fun, because again, that's something that if this continues and progresses, the media is something you've got to do. So it must have been fun to do all that sort of stuff and little videos and things like that. Yeah,
it was quite a good experience actually. After the photos, I had to go and do like this little interview in this other room where they asked you questions and did little Q&As and all that, which was quite different, but it was a good experience. As you said, if you're going to play a high level of cricket, that stuff you're going to have to do. You know, once
your best friend, you're gonna have to bring the media along for the ride, just like you, mate. So that's what I'm doing. I'm coaching you along the way here. Now the next one. Seriously, what the hell's that one? That's gone mental, that photo.
Oh, that photo. I actually remember we were playing against the West Indies in the first game, and I was running and the camera was pointed directly at me, and I was just like, what am I going to do here? So I just pulled a little funky face, and turns out the camera was right at me face doing a little headshot.
Yeah, that's gone everywhere.
That's how my ESPN cricket photo. My bio photo, and then a few of the articles. That's been the main photo.
Yep.
So I thought it was just going to be a little funny piss take photo where he has it on his camera roll, but now it's blown out of proportions.
Yep. John and Marnie love that one. That's their favourite one, Mum and Dad. Then you got this one to keep the sponsors happy.
Yeah, that's not a bad photo.
That one there. So you want to go to Muleman's and sort of said, hey, look,
there's actually that I sent to him. It's actually a seriously gun photo. It's like me raising my bat and the camera's pointed directly at me with the stickers glowing. I was like, that's probably the one they should use.
And fantastic equipment too, Grove. So you can give me a little plug if you want, mate.
No.
And this is the final one. This is just to highlight the journey. The journey to get to, where you are now. And like I said, you're still only taking a step or two. There's still a long way to go. Look at that little boy there doing some, you're about either, I think you just finished a 2K time trial, I reckon.
Jeez.
Look at those little skinny legs and look at that.
I was telling lads over in the West Indies that I was always the smallest in my year. Like I was pretty much, I reckon in year 9 I weighed 52 kilos. So in 3 or 4 years I've put on over 30 keggers.
Yeah.
So look at that. That's actually quite amazing that I was that small. Pretty back when I ran at 2K too.
Yeah, it was one of those testing days that we were all sort of part of, and that little fella. I thought I had to show.
Never seen that photo.
It's because I took it. Okay, so that's enough of that stuff. I don't want to embarrass you anymore. So when you're away, just a few last little things. Did you get exposed to like any of the local foods? Because I mean, you've got different islands, they're different countries, they're different, completely different things. Did you get Western food? You know, pretty much what you.
Pretty much Western food. Like we were never allowed to leave the hotel unless it was for training or for game day. So most of the food restaurants in the hotels were like Western food. So I got like, I had a chicken curry, fried rice, chicken sandwiches, you know, all that stuff, kind of stereotypically you get anywhere. The second hotel we went to, that was proper American. I lived off chicken burgers and burgers for like a full week. And then the last hotel we went to was awesome. They had a big buffet for brekkie, buffet for lunch, buffet for dinner, which was unbelievable.
Nutritionist there to sort of say, boys, don't overdo it, all that sort of stuff.
If there was no such thing as chicken, I don't reckon I could have survived that 7 weeks. I lived. They had this bar with this, because where we was, it was almost like a little, I wouldn't say quarry, but like the ocean come in and it come into this like little bay, and this restaurant overlooking it, and it was called the Bar and Grill, and all the lads every day at 11 o'clock would rock up when it opened and just eat all this food because it was all free. Yeah. So I was eating like 5 or 6 chicken wraps a day. It was unbelievable.
The joys of being on tour. So just to sort of wrap up, it's obviously a weird time of the part of the season, and again with all the conditions that are around us. Like there's only, well, you get out of ISO or quarantine this week. There's one round of Premier cricket left. Unfortunately, Rocky Mandurah won't make the finals this year. So you're looking to, you think you'll be okay to play in that game, or
the
last game?
Pretty much cleared to play the last game.
Yeah.
Walk out on midday on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to try. Yeah. I'll be messaging one of the Mandurah guys. I'm going to tee up a hit with him on Wednesday at Arvo. Thursday, I'm up at the Wacker. So I think that'll probably be the final say if they see my physical condition. Hopefully I haven't put too much puppy fat on over quarantine. But yeah, I reckon I'll be all right to play Saturday. And it's a full strength Scarborough too. So AJ Ty and Lance Morris are opening the bowling.
That's going to be
Philippi.
Yep.
That'll be a good game.
Yeah, well, that's what you want. That's what you want. And that's one of the advantages, I guess, of this sort of time, because players have been available. Premier Cricket across Australia has had test players playing, you know, and that's old school. That's what Premier Cricket used to be.
It's
the test players that come back and play 2 or 3 games at least a year. You know what I mean? So that's good. That's what you want, mate. You want to go and play against the best players that you can.
100%.
Potential under-19 national tournament. Potential. That's in Mackay, you were saying, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's in Mackay, and it's from the 9th to the 16th. So I think it'll be a 5-game tournament where you play 2, rest 1, rest 2. Yep. That's usually the way to put it. But I guess it's going to depend on the borders and that situation there. I think if not, we might play like maybe a series between South Australia or just, you know, against a country team in WA.
Yeah, you'll have to do something. Because that, as a group, and you know, you're part of that group. I mean, you've been training for forever, you know, and
since August.
Yeah, you know, missed out last year, and
that's why, like, I mean, Cooper and I are pretty fortunate. Like, we got the World Cup. A lot of these other guys who are trying to prove themselves, you know, they've had nothing apart from grade cricket.
Yeah. So it's a tough old time, but hopefully we're seeing the other side. So just in closing, mate, what was I don't know. I mean, I guess cricket's a big part of it, but what was the main highlight of that whole experience? What was the biggest thing?
Well, I reckon the night after the last game. That was absolutely amazing. Like the first time, pretty much the whole tour, we had everyone there. I reckon the second day we're at the hotel, we had the full team together. But then, like, the doctor rocked up, and the last day, like, sitting around the table, funny story, actually, I was pretty much the only one that wasn't allowed to drink because I'm under 18. So there were 23 people at the beer in their hands, and I'm just sitting there like, this sucks. No, that was seeing everyone there, everyone smiling, finishing on the podium, third place.
Yeah.
And it was an awesome night. Like, we ended up going and seeing a few of the England lads after they lost in the final. And then playing mini golf and tennis with those guys. And a few blokes rocked up with sore heads the next day. But, that's all a part of being on tour.
Yeah. And was it a little bit like on the national tours, when you do under 15s and under 17s and all that sort of stuff, the awards night, which is the night you just sort of described, is normally at the end of it, people are just going bananas, souvenirs, swapping shirts and stuff like that. Was there any of that sort of stuff happening? Or?
Yeah, all the lads swapped a shirt with someone from another nation. We weren't really couldn't really get too many souvenirs because we couldn't go out. So when we go, not to the hotel, to the airport, mate, spent so much money. It's just out there. I reckon I spent $400, $500 at the first place, and then I went to Amsterdam and bought a jumper and bought these pants, and then I went to Dubai, bought 2 colognes.
How many stopovers on the flight back?
Well, I'll tell you this: it took, from the time we left the hotel in Antigua to getting home, it took 67 hours.
Because there's a lot of island hopping, isn't there? And
we went Antigua to St. Martin, and then we had a 6-hour stopover. We went St. Martin to Amsterdam, which is a 7-hour stopover. Amsterdam to Dubai with a 4-hour stopover. Then I went Dubai to Melbourne, Melbourne to Sydney, Sydney to Perth.
and that's also because of the time that we're in. There's not many flights and all that sort of. So that's been accentuated a little bit. But the West Indies is the hardest place to tour because they're little islands, and you go in little planes, and you got to go from island to island, and you normally go America. That's a normal route. I don't know. Did you go America in or not?
No, it was too hard with all the pharmaceuticals we had.
Yep.
Would have had to, it would have been just too tough.
Yeah.
So we just long way around.
But look, you've had an awesome experience. You're a third-time member of the show, so that means you get a gold star, and you're a permanent member of the Pavilion, the Peel Cricket Show. You'll be hosting it soon. Get rid of this idiot. Thanks a lot for coming on, mate. Thanks for keeping in touch throughout the time as well. That was fantastic. Sending little snippets during the cricket. You're watching a little bit of the T20 competition, which is pretty good cricket as well.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's coming up to the business end, as you probably know. Mandurah have snuck in the back door, and they're in the semi-finals.
I reckon I'll try and pop down and watch that if I don't have training.
Yep.
So
that's in a couple of weeks' time. So that'll be a good one. And if you are, you might have to literally get on and co-commentate a little bit as well, which I'm sure you'd love to do. Thanks a lot for being on the show, mate. Awesome as usual. I've taken way too much of your time, so thanks for coming on board.
No, it's my pleasure, mate. Anytime.
Okay, so that's Teague Wyllie, Australian international cricketer. He can add to the many other titles he's got. You're on the Pavilion, the Peel Cricket Show. That was one of the little special episodes we got for you. Hope you've enjoyed that. Tune in again the next time we're on. Cheers.